Well, hello. Today I will be reviewing a PlayStation game, which I haven't done in quite some time. This particular game is one of my top 10 all-time favorites. If you watched the video I did, you'll see it in there. It's called Final Fantasy Tactics. Now, it's had a couple of sequels, but those sequels blow ass. You can get this for a couple of different versions nowadays. There's the original, which is on PlayStation, and there's also a version called War of the Lions, and that's on both the PSP and the iOS. That's iPods and that kind of stuff. Now, in terms of which you should pick, I would probably go with the War of the Lions version because it's the same game and it has a better translation. But I've heard some negative aspects are that spell animations tend to be a bit choppy. But if that doesn't bother you, then I guess that's fine. I personally don't have a PSP or an iPod, or an iPad for that matter, so I play the PlayStation version. The PlayStation version has a few benefits itself, though. For example, if you're playing through an emulator, you can obviously increase the graphics, but first and foremost, and I'm going to get into this a little bit more later, is there are modifications that you can download on the internet and patch an ISO, and they can do anything from slightly modified jobs for balancing issues all the way up to making the game incredibly difficult. Anyways, that I'll talk about more later. First, let's talk about the actual game itself. It's a strategy RPG that's turn-based. If you don't know what that means, it's where combat takes place on grids. When you look at the battle map, so you can't actually see the grids until you go to make a move. Now, each unit that is on your side and on the enemy sides takes turns moving their units and then obviously choosing an ability such as attack or, a job ability, which I'll get into a little bit, to either benefit their side or harm the enemy. And you keep going until the battle conditions are met. So most of the time that means destroying all the other enemies, but sometimes in story battles there are occasionally fights where you have to just defeat the leader of the enemy side, or you have to protect someone or something like that. Now, there are a lot of games that are like this, that are this style. It's not a pioneer of the genre. I mean, it's one of the earlier ones, but it's the first one in the genre that really solidified the genre as a type of game type. Where this game really shines, in my opinion, is both the combination of the storyline and the graphics. I mean, looking at the video, you're going to see, 2D graphics, nothing special, 3D landscapes, nothing that hasn't been done before. But just the animation of those 2D sprites was just so well done, and it was done with a level of adult content. I mean, there's no nudity or anything like that, but I mean, it's a very serious title. I mean, at the time when I first played this game, 2D games like this, fantasy RPGs, they were more bubbly, I guess is the right word to use. I mean, you'd play something like Final Fantasy VII, for example, and it had a hint of humor in it. It didn't take itself seriously. It had a serious storyline, but it was much more lighthearted. And in this, there's a little bit of lighthearted at first, but it really isn't. There's death and betrayal, and that's really just what sets the mood of the game. And everything in it is just really well done. The music is good. The creator of the team that made the game, I believe they worked on Tactics Ogre, which came out before it, so there's a lot of similarities between the two. It's the same team that also worked on another one of my favorite games, Vagrant Story. And they're also the team that did Final Fantasy 12, I want to say. But that game wasn't that good. Don't get me wrong, though. This game has excellent gameplay. The way that it works is every time you perform an action that's beneficial, such as using an item or landing an attack or using an ability, you get both experience points and what's called job points, or JP. You accumulate this JP, and then you can spend it to earn skills. within whatever job you're earning it on. So in the beginning of the game, you start up as what's called Squire. Squires have very basic skills. Some are useful, but for the most part, they kind of suck. And you earn up to, I think it's about, I think once you hit level 2 or 3 as a Squire, you can become a Knight. Now you level up Knight to level 3, and that unlocks Monk. So you sort of do this like system where you keep unlocking more and more jobs, more and more skills. And what's really cool is that once you've learned a lot of these skills, you can combine them. You get 2 basic skill types, one from your whatever job you are, and then another one you set. So say you're a Knight, you get what's called the battle skill. Now all those skills will destroy enemy equipments and stuff like that. Now say as your secondary skill, you set the basic skill, which is what the Squire has. So now you have sort of a combination of a Knight and a Squire as one job. Furthermore, you can customize yourself because you have what's called a reaction ability that you set, and that's like an example of a common reaction ability early in the game would be counter, where, as the name sounds, if you get attacked, you counterattack. But there are quite a few that you can learn. One of my favorites is called HP Restore, which if you're brought down to critical health, you have a large chance to fully heal yourself. So that's pretty badass. That's on the Monk. Then you have your support abilities, which can be anything. There's, for example, the Summoner has a support ability of half MP. As the name sounds, all spells cost half MP. Pretty useful for mage types. Then you have a movement ability. And there's a couple of different kinds of those, like move +1, 2, 3, teleport, fly, a whole bunch of different stuffs. So there are a few oddities with the vanilla game. That's vanilla means unmodded. Random encounters, that is non-story battles that you come across on terrain that you're passing through to get to the next story part. Those battles are all scaled to your level, so they'll always provide a decent enough challenge, and there are a couple of random fights here and there where you might like come across an entire enemy party of samurai, and those are kind of cool. But story battles are all set in stone at specific levels, so you can actually grind on randoms and get yourself way higher level than the story battles, and then the story battles will be wicked easy. So that's kind of a flaw in the design. But as I was saying earlier, there are mods that you can download, and they correct this. The one that I would recommend is called Final Fantasy Plus. It actually just came out, but there's another one that is called, that's the most popular, and it's called Final Fantasy 1.3 or 1.03. I get them mixed up, but that one is brutally difficult and can be found on insanedifficulty.com. As the website's name implies, it is incredibly tough, but they make a lot of really cool changes. They balance out jobs, make some of the jobs like Archer that has like crappier skills have a little bit better skills. There are some classes in the game that are called special classes that are just way too overpowered. You'll come across a character named Orlando. He is a beast, and he joins your party. While other special characters are incredibly weak, like Cloud. That's right, Cloud from Final Fantasy VII Cloud, and he has his limit breaks. Anyways, the mods, they balance things out for the most part. I recommend that you try out Final Fantasy Plus if you're not too familiar with the game. You definitely should play through the game vanilla without a mod first. Actually, this footage that you're seeing is from a mod called Final Fantasy Rebirth, and that actually might be a good mod to play if you've never played the game before, because this mod, this doesn't change the difficulty level of the monsters. This only just balances out classes a little bit, so you might want to check that out. All of them can be found on ffhackdicks.com. I'll post a link in the description and in the video itself so you can see. But it's a really cool website, and I'm actually working on my own mod that I'm going to be calling Final Fantasy Tactics Omega, which hopes to, my goal with it is to ultimately create a mod that has a progressive difficulty increase, so that the first chapter is pretty much like vanilla difficulty, and then the second chapter will get a little bit harder, with enemies being a few levels higher than you all the time, and then the third will be a little bit more harder, and then the fourth will be wicked hard. That's my idea, with a few improvements on the jobs like Archer, and obviously getting rid of the calculator, because the calculator job is just ridiculously overpowered, but kind of fun if you master it. I remember I think it was when I was in high school and I was playing this game, I took the time to create a spreadsheet. I don't know what I did with it, but it had like all these like easy checkbox things that you could, so that you could quickly determine exactly what combination to use for the calculator to just annihilate everything in one shot. It was pretty fun, but mastering the calculator kind of makes the game a little boring. So a lot of the mods tend to get rid of the calculator altogether. But anyways, this game is most definitely worth your time. I believe it's on the PlayStation Network if you have a PS3. If it is, obviously you can't mod that version. So in all honesty, while I do say you should buy the game, what you should do is you should buy it first, say for the PlayStation, on the PlayStation Network, and play it vanilla, or on PSP and play it vanilla, and then go online, download a clean copy of the ISO, and then patch in one of the mods and check out all the cool changes, because it's definitely a game where you can get tons and tons of replay out of. And that was my dog shaking. Thanks for watching my video. Peace out.